Shit, piss, fuck, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
I'm going to make
Thanks.
that the cold open to this first episode. Welcome to Just Trust Me, the marketing podcast where we identify all the Easter eggs in marketing, except they're from last year. Ew. I'm Rachel Moore, your humble host / producer, and I can promise you right out the gate that I'm not the only person you'll hear on this podcast. In just a few seconds, you'll meet my co-hosts, Elizabeth Allen and Tanya Ballard Brown, both experts in their fields of content marketing, digital marketing, and journalism. Together, we're a trifecta that will dissect for you the latest marketing what the fucks or outright genius tactics we witnessed when it comes to how marketing tries to build trust in target audiences, or often winds up burning right through it. This is our very first official episode, so get to know us, enjoy the discussion, and, well, just trust us to do right by you when it comes to today's marketing chatter. By the way, this is an explicit podcast. You will hear cursing, which you may have gathered from the cold open. And away we go. This is the first episode of Just Trust Me, and you probably should know who's in the room where it's happening. So we're going to do a little round robin of who you're going to be hearing from on this podcast. I'm going to go alphabetically because what better way is there arbitrarily? Guess what that means? That means Elizabeth's first. Elizabeth? I know, but you knew this moment was coming. This is your moment. Tell us who you are.
All right, so my name is Elizabeth Allen. I am a woman living in Connecticut. I am a content marketing manager. I love all things words. I love all things marketing. I have a 10-year-old who is a anime nerd, which is fun to kind of navigate because I don't understand any of it. I have a husband who I've been with for 25 years, and we have a cat named Gretchen Wieners.
Can I just say too, when you said content marketing, I thought it was just because of what we were talking about. I thought you said at marketing.
You know what? That's going to be my new brand. I'm a content marketing manager.
You'll definitely have a very niche market of people that you.
I feel like I would
with
appeal to a lot of people, and then the other half of the population would absolutely detest me. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
That's right. I guess that means I'm next. So I'm Rachel Moore. I'm the one who's kind of got the keys to the Riverside.fm that we're using to record this. And I'm the one who brought these folks together, but it was pretty easy because I should probably tell you all that we've all been in the same community, whether that was on Slack or whether it was on Facebook Messenger or on message boards that we won't name because then you might go there and don't do that. But we've known each other for many years. And I work in marketing too. I heavy in content. I do comms here and there too. Mostly my jam these days is podcasts, which who would have thought? But I'm also a woman, but I live in Colorado and I am married with 2 chillin'. One of them's driving, the other one wants to. And we have a cat named Scooter Bill. And yeah, I love travel and I love these 2 women. And that's why I'm excited about us bringing in this expertise to talk about all the things you can't and should not trust in the world out there. And with that, Tanya, I'm going to kick it over to you. Tell us about you.
Well, hi, how are you?
Husky, very husky.
This is my sick lady voice. Tanya Ballard Brown. I am a journalist. I do the journalism, and I have learned a lot about marketing and other things from these 2 ladies, which have been helpful to me because social media and audience growth and that kind of thing is tied in with marketing, and it also helps me better understand conversations that I'm having at work with people in our marketing departments who I actually love because they are really great. And I live in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And I say it like that because I like to say it like that. I am divorceted, but single and available. So if you happen to be attractive and single and you like hot black ladies that live in Washington, D.C., I have no children, but I have a very spoiled dog who is laying right here. Her name is Butterbean. You can follow her anywhere you get social, Butterbean Ballard Brown. And that, my friends, is enough for me right now, I think.
Well, Idris Elba, if you're listening to this, that was pretty much code for you to call Tanya.
Oh, he's got that woman now. He's married with that lady now. I want Jeffrey Wright
that
now.
is
I feel
true. We
Jeffrey
moved to
Wright
Jeffrey
is
Wright. So, yep.
Jeffrey Wright, I feel like there is probably just 2 or 3 degrees of separation between us, and all he needs to do is meet me, and he will be like, "Where have you been all my life?" And I'm like, "Right here, boo." And we could just go and run off into the sunset together. Come
We
through,
can
Jeffrey.
vouch for her. She's
Well,
very
hey,
beautiful
I mean,
and awesome. So, Jeffrey Wright,
yes,
if you're out there,
she
please
is.
come on through.
I especially think Tanya, you're good for celebrities because when you're in the room, nobody's gonna look at them.
Amen.
They're gonna be like,
Yes.
"Who's this?" That's right. You are the glam. You are the glam in this whole scenario. Well, ladies, those of us who identify as women, which all three of us do, we're here. The title of this is Just Trust Me. Whole premise is that, all of us work in some degree of marketing. Tanya, I'm really glad too you're on here because you've got 2 marketers, but we also have someone who's in journalism, which I think might have I don't know, some tie-ins with trust, the whole issue of trust. Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
maybe not as much these days, it doesn't feel like, but it's really hard.
But we want to get back to that point.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe by sheer dint of will and this podcast, we can help make that happen. But yeah, we're here. We're going to talk every week. This segment, we all are just going to bring forth the things that are like, okay, when it comes to like trust and the things we've seen in marketing and things like that, what do we got to beef with? What's trending out there? What's in everybody's face? What should we all take a super second look at saying, what the hell's going on with that? Is that for real? Basically anything in that genre. So with that, what do we want to talk about first, women?
The Super Bowl just happened, and in terms of marketing, what do y'all think about both Taylor and Beyonce announcing new music during the Super Bowl? I mean, kind of paid and unpaid at the same time. I don't know. What is that a smart way to go about getting your message? I mean, I have thoughts, but I'd like to hear the marketing thoughts.
I'm going to defer to Elizabeth because I'm just going to be honest. My Spotify does not really cover Taylor or Beyonce. I know I'm going to go to hell for saying that.
I'm going to be fully transparent here. I knew that I did not watch the Grammys and I did not watch the Super Bowl. So I know we've been talking about them for the last good amount of time when it comes to that. Like, I just recently discovered that Beyonce had announced her new record or her new album. I just aged myself by saying record. So she announced her new album, and I didn't realize that, but I knew Taylor had at the Grammys. And I feel like, does she need to announce at the Grammys? Like, she doesn't, right? Like, she's so well known that it was kind of weird to me that she took that moment to be kind of an advertisement. And I might be in the wrong there. I fully understand that. And I know a lot of people have argued against that case. For me, I feel like there was really no need for her to. We know how the Swifties roll. They are like, from what I actually heard in one instance, I don't know if this might be apocryphal, but somebody said that during the Grammys, they had gone into the source code of her website and found her announcement for her record or her album during that time. Who knows if that's true? I don't know. I'm old as hell. I'm 42 years old, so I'm not good about that. But a lot of people did think that it was fully planned, which obviously it was if she had won. I don't know. To me, I don't think there's a need for her to announce at the Grammys. And I think that was kind of a night, especially because we had a lot of really nostalgic artists at the Grammys, that I thought it was really cool for us to be focusing on them. Tracy Chapman, Celine Dion. It would have been a really cool moment to really focus on them. And she doesn't need that juice, right? Like, she just doesn't. And Beyonce is kind of the same way. But I will say that I will admit that I only recently learned that it sounds like Beyonce is going to be doing country next, which I did not.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what she announced.
I had no
That's
idea.
what
And
she
actually, I had
announced.
heard about it a little prior to her announcing. And I want to say it was like Saturday when I was doing my grocery store shopping and I was listening to podcasts about it. So it was pre the Super Bowl. And I had no idea that was the move she was making. That one kind of feels more legitimate to me because she's moving her entire genre. It's a bigger announcement. No, that's where I fall. So Like, Taylor, you didn't really necessarily have to announce the Grammys. Beyonce, I'm not mad at that you announced because it makes sense. Like, you're doing a whole genre move, which is huge, you know?
Let's target audience in the Super Bowl. Tanya, you said you had thoughts on it too. I'm definitely going to defer over to you too because
I would say for just a moment before I started two stepping, because I actually like country music and I'd liked at least one of the new Beyonce country songs. I did think, well, this was Usher's
Yeah.
moment, right? You know,
Hmm.
I thought that for just a second, and then again I got to two stepping and boot scooting and boogieing, so I could let that go. I'm of two minds about Taylor in that you're right. She has enough buzz on her own at this point. It's so much media power, and she always seemed pretty media savvy. So it was a little. It did feel a little. The Grammys, which I'd watched that too. That was the first time I watched the Grammys in a long time, and this was probably the first time I've watched some of the football of the Super Bowl. I always pretty much watch halftime. I
Hmm.
never watch the football because I don't care. But you know what? The other thing is she gets beat up on a lot
She
about pretty
does.
much everything. I don't know that there's a right anything Taylor can do at this point.
I
So
Truth.
I don't listen to her music. I'm not a fan. I'm not a not
Yeah.
fan. I'm just I'm pretty ambivalent about her. So in that regard, I don't know at this point if there's a thing she can do right because some people are just have decided that they just hate her. They're at, as we used to say, bitch eating cracker status with her. So all she has to do is just breathe, right? At this point. So there's that. But I think I did like that perspective on the two different, because I think I said that Taylor announced at the Super Bowl, and you were right. It was at the Grammys. But the
Hmm.
two different, and if you think about it, because I was watching the Grammys, Beyonce had on her
Mm.
country music garb there. So she was already laying out the breadcrumbs for that then.
Black Twitter was hilarious
Yeah.
with that too. I was watching. And on Instagram too, as Black Threads was like, oh my god. So, but Elizabeth, you were about to say something.
Oh, I was like, it is interesting because I do agree what you said. Like, basically, Taylor cannot win, but she also cannot lose. So you take half of our country or half of the population, and she can't win with them, and half the population she can't lose with them. So it all kind of evens out at some point. So I have a hard time like feeling badly for her. Like, she's clearly winning. She's fine. But yes, I
Right.
do think part of my like when I'm looking at her announcement, I'm judging it a little more harsher than I would other artists' announcement because it's like, you're going to be fine, girl. You're fine. Like, you know, and Beyonce,
Hmm.
exactly the same
Hmm.
thing. And I do think there's such a big difference in the atmosphere of the event that you're announcing at the Grammys versus the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. The Grammys is supposed to be about all of these artists and what they're doing and what they've done for the past year as opposed to
Hmm.
what they're, going to be doing in the future. Whereas the Super Bowl is a little more
Yeah.
casual. And that seems like, for me personally, I think that's like a cooler place to announce that and you guys know, I don't give a shit about the foosball at all. But, it seems like a cooler place to announce your next album, especially, which is smart of Beyonce,
Hmm.
if you're looking to get that country crowd. I think that's kind of genius.
Right.
So, and I don't blame Taylor for making the announcement. Basically, I come down on it where I'm like, I'm not sure it was necessary there. But also, like, I guess where else were you going to do
Right.
it? Like, you might as well. You have all these people gathered and all of your Swifties are watching. Beyonce's announcement
Yeah.
made a little more sense to me, especially because she was making a whole genre shift. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, and I wonder too, obviously Taylor's going to the Super Bowl
Mhm.
to be a fan and watch her boyfriend, Travis Kelsey, hopefully win, which they did. That was kind of his moment. Some of me wonders too, where it's like, was that strategic to say, look, I'm going to go announce this in
That's a
my
good
world over
point.
here, but when I'm in your
That's a good
world,
point.
Absolutely great point, because she's gotten so much criticism about being a
That's
distraction
yeah,
at the
you know
football
what? I
games,
will fully
despite the
give that
fact
to
that.
you. I did not even think about that. That
Hmm.
makes really good sense.
which, by the
Hmm.
way, in case anyone listening to this podcast wasn't aware, Taylor's not in control over when the camera goes to her. So
Oh my
stop with
god,
that.
yes.
That is the director. That is the director, and that is their choice. So, if you're angry about how often she's on camera, by the way, this was the most viewed NFL Super Bowl. I doubt they're going to be stopping cutting over to her anytime soon.
And she
So,
was on camera for like something
anywho,
like 25 seconds or something. Yeah, it was something
yeah.
crazy, which
I think a
So
lot of people tuned in. I'm not saying the Swifties weren't tuned in. I think part of why the Swifties tuned in is because it was this huge rumor that Travis
right.
was going to propose, and they
I
just
didn't
did
even
not
hear
want
about
to
that,
miss that.
really?
Oh,
Oh,
did you not
Hmm.
hear about the psyops? This is
Hmm.
the whole, yeah, you know about the psyops thing, right? Where this is all a big, and actually there is apparently a televangelist in, I want to say Arkansas, who is claiming that this is a satanic move of Travis, and this doesn't even have to do with psyops. This is
yep.
just about religion, where it's like, oh, this is all orchestrated by Satan. That Travis and Taylor are going to get married, and then they're going to come out as power couple and support Biden.
Oh my
That's when it gets into the
God.
politics. But yes, there's actually stupid fringe theories. Yes, they're stupid, and I said it out loud. That are saying like, oh my God, this is all psyop about them being a power couple, and they're going to come out in support of Biden. The whole thing was going to be like she was going to come take over the stage during halftime and declare in the midst of Usher's performance that she's coming out for Biden. Oh my God, it didn't happen. Whatever did people do when their whole theory went
That
crashing
is
down?
wild. I had actually not heard of
So
any of that, and I definitely had not heard about the proposal thing. Also, how
you're
long have they been
lucky.
together for at this point? 6 months?
I don't even
Maybe,
know.
I mean,
Yeah, not
a handful of months, but also, I mean, but why? I don't know why people have these crazy theories about her with this guy. I mean, and I don't mean this in a shady way.
yes.
She dates. This is not her. Why Travis
Any of the other
versus
ones,
any
yeah.
of the other?
And I agree with you, Tanya. That's a
So
good
What do you,
point.
why
This
is
is not meant with any shade, but also she does date a lot.
mhm.
That's not, you know.
mm-hmm.
So why is
Yeah.
it that this particular relationship is the one that's the the devil is the devil spawning or something? I don't know.
This last week, folks on social media were discussing a billboard ad by Timex where a picture of an analog watch sat above some ad copy promising no more interruptions for the 1,200 plus emails in your inbox. While that billboard didn't have a clear CTA, though it certainly was implied, this ad break is calling you to action. Advertise with Just Trust Me. We focus on marketing that is trustworthy. So if you have a product or service we deem worthy of our trust, we can be your podcast billboard, so to speak. Visit www.butwaitthere'smore.com/contact to reach out about advertising. Oh, and check your emails. 1,200 is way too many to go unread. Speaking of relationships, how do you view Valentine's Day? Because over in our side, we really just do see it like happy exorbitant marketing day trying to compel you to go get me chocolate flowers and an expensive dinner out day.
Yes.
But what about you?
So I'll jump in here first. We are not Valentine's Day people and never have been. I've been with my husband for 25 years. It's just never been our thing. I was telling a group of friends today that the most generous and most wonderful Valentine's Day gift I ever got was this morning at about 4 a.m. I woke up to a light shining in my eyes really briefly, and my husband was on his hands and knees with his iPhone flashlight, a thing of Clorox wipes, and a roll of paper towels because he had heard our cat puking in the middle of the night, and he could tell she was over on my side of the bed, and he was worried that the minute I stepped off the bed, I would step in it, because anybody who's owned a cat knows that it could be in the corner of a room you've literally
Yes.
never stepped in. You're going to step in it somehow, you know? And so I woke up to that like at 4 o'clock in the morning, totally not even knowing what's going on. And that's what he was doing for me. So that's the romance in my household. It was beautiful. You know what? I don't think I've ever felt more loved. It honestly, and especially when you've been with somebody for 25 years, you're like, this is true love. That after 25 years, this is like, he wants to make sure I don't step in cat puke when I wake up at 5 a.m. to wake up. Yeah, it was beautiful. Other than that, we're not really big. Like, I actually ran out today because I was like, I'm unemployed. What else am I going to do? So I ran out to see the and I grabbed a little like stuffed animal for my daughter and like a little thing of Reese's hearts for him. But like normally I wouldn't do that. Actually, normally he would do that and I would never reciprocate, and it was totally fine. It was actually funny because he came home like not too long ago, and he was like, he carpools with one of his coworkers, and his coworker's like, what did you get her for Valentine's Day? And he's like, nothing. We don't really care about Valentine's Day. And she's like, what? Are you sure? And I'm sitting there like, yeah, no, I'm totally fine. And I feel like we do kind of go back and forth. Like, there have been years that I've done jack shit. And then this year I was like, He's working and I don't have a job, so I'm gonna work out and do it.
How about you, Tanya?
Well, I mean, as I noted, single men. I am divorceted. I would say when I was married, my then husband did make an effort. And I mean, is that I don't know that I have some single friends who are bothered by today.
Hmm.
I'm not especially bothered in years past, like years before I got married. Like my dad would send me flowers every year because he was like, "I'm always your Valentine,"
I love that.
Aw.
and I always thought that was cute. And I looked forward to those flowers, and then I got married, and I guess he was like, "That man is responsible for all this now."
It's job now.
But I mean, if I guess got a new love and he cared about it, I'd make an effort. Or if he wanted to do something nice, I would certainly reciprocate. But if I was with, hooked up with somebody who didn't care,
Yeah.
that would be fine too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would much rather you are loving to me every
Yes.
day and clean up the
Clean up
cats
the cat puke. That means real love.
than then bring me those
It
candies. Because
does.
I honestly, and I don't like those candies
me
in the boxes.
neither.
You guys have known me long enough to know that I'm
chocolate and
so funny
orange.
about like I do not want that nut. I don't like that
No,
coconut. I don't
exactly.
want this,
Mm.
like
I have to
this
poke my
berry.
finger through the bottom of it and hope to God it's caramel, which is basically all I'm
Yeah.
doing. I'm hoping it's caramel and nothing else. It's a waste.
Yeah. Did anyone else dry heave every time like Forrest Gump is like, life's like a box of chocolate?
No, thank you.
Yeah, like
It could be anything.
so life is like yucky because that's
Life
what
is
you
a
just
bunch of
said.
nasty surprises. Thanks. Yeah, I've learned that. I'm an adult now. It sucks.
Yeah.
Life's gonna bring
I
you
don't want
chocolate
that.
with
Well,
orange at the same time, and you never
nope,
asked for it. Ugh.
Mm-mm.
Ugh.
No.
Yeah, I
But
have
I
you.
also understand that there are a lot of people who are single who are
Yeah.
unhappy about that state of
Mhm.
affairs. And
Yeah.
one year I sent a bunch of people. So I'm in like the Slack with a group of people, and there's some of the young people. I'm one of them senior folks there, not senior citizen, just one of the senior folks in the Slack. And there's a channel there where people, talk about dating and just ask for advice. And some people, were feeling a little, melancholy about Valentine's Day that year. So I was like, yes, if you DM me your address, I'll send you a card. So I sent a whole bunch of people
Aw.
a Valentine's Day card so that they had something. And I thought about doing it again this year, but everybody seems to be okay this year. So
Yeah.
that's okay. And I send to babies and children because, when you were a kid, it was
Mhm.
cool to get all those little things. So, but yeah, I think we should do our best to be loving to our loved ones beyond February 14th.
What about being loving to all the brands that are putting out the?
I need for these brands to stop trying to shoehorn and crowbar Valentine's Day into their social media strategy. Let's be honest. I will say that I just stopped working for a company and I saw their social media post today, and it was so desperate to be like to work a very not romantic product into their social media strategy. And I was like, you tried. But it's
We love our customers every day,
on
but especially
Valentine's
today.
Day. Some of the holidays can just go by, guys. Like, just let them go. I'm sure a lot of it is a social media manager somewhere who is like, I need to fill out this fucking content calendar. And so I'm gonna post on
Mhm.
Valentine's Day and Arbor Day and Pearl Harbor Day. Like, you could let some of
Oh
them
my
go
God.
by.
You really can. It's really okay.
Yeah, I was going to say in my particular newsroom, the content that we cover is pretty serious. And so there's no,
Yeah.
it's not a Valentine's Day angle, but other places, because you can report, stories that are fun and cool about Valentine's Day and dating and stuff. So I think some of the media brands use that as their quote unquote marketing for Valentine's Day to like promote those stories that maybe any other day of the year they wouldn't be bothering to tell about dating
Yeah.
or whatnot. So
Yeah. My big thing with the brands doing it, and this gets back, I know the theme of this whole podcast is trust. It's just like, we love you, or our employees love each other and they love our company and you love our products. And it's like, all right, I get what you're doing because it's Valentine's Day and I know you like to think that. but what's the real story?
Exactly.
You know, it's like, well, can I go look at your reviews and do people love you? Or do I look at your, whether it's employer reviews, or do I look at your, product reviews? And it's like, I'm not seeing love there. What's happening right there? So it's certainly, and we all work in marketing. We know you capitalize on what you can. If that's trending
Yeah.
that day, you're like, well, how can I get some stuff out of this? But, everybody should give a brand a second look and be like, huh, like what's really going on there? I mean, sure, if they're giving a discount, you may not look much farther. You're like, good, I got 20% off today because you decided it's Valentine's Day discount. So
That's a
I don't
tough
know.
thing with marketing because it's so easy to fall into those trending moments where you're like, I need to be able to leverage this somehow. And sometimes it just makes no sense and companies still do it anyway. And they don't get that, like, okay, so you like got on the board. I saw you for a minute, but also I'm kind of laughing at the fact that none of this works. It's not, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
So,
mean, what happens too when you're talking about marketing and just like targeted marketing and specific marketing or whatever. But I think about when that Elmo trending thing, that was a
Oh,
moment that
yeah.
caught by. So those are the ones that I
Yeah.
think are more impactful. But obviously, that's harder to because those happen
So why
organically
don't you
versus
Yeah.
explain the Elmo moment to us?
So Elmo, Sesame Street Elmo, yes, that's what we're talking about. Had posted on TwitX.
Twin X. Is that what we're calling? Is that what it's
Well,
landed
because
on at this point?
I call it TwitX because it's people, X
Dumb.
sounds
dude, the
like
website's
not
And
still
like
also,
I,
you're still
twitter.com.
typing in,
Absolutely.
yeah, twitter.com. The
yeah.
branding wasn't well done there.
So on
Let's
TwitX,
move on from the Elon Musk of it all.
Yes.
on Twitter, Elmo had asked, I think, hey, how's everybody doing today? And boy, did
Oh.
people really explain to him how they were doing that day, and it turned into a moment because people apparently needed somebody to ask them
Oh,
how they were doing. Like
Mm-hmm.
people were going through a lot
yeah.
of people were going through some stuff,
Yeah.
and what Sesame Street's social person did was turn that into a moment to discuss like
Yeah.
self-care and mental health or what like it was just organic. They didn't certainly when they it's Elmo, how you doing, that they didn't anticipate. I would be surprised. Never say never because lots of crazy things have happened that you didn't think would happen. But I would be surprised when they posted that was the outcome that they expected, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I mean, between him and The Rock, not The Rock the guy, but literally The Rock,
Oh,
that
yeah.
Rock that Zoe has
Yes,
it.
I know what you're talking about.
Another caught on by so viral moment. They've just been, I want to say lucky, but they've also leveraged it. So they were lucky on the front end and then smart enough to
Mhm.
leverage it on the back end with some of those social moments around what is, a Muppet.
It's the
Like,
tough time is
it's a
that
Muppet.
I feel like Sesame Street got a lot of backlash for that, for almost feeling like it was being manipulative, and I do not believe that's how that started. I don't think that was the initial
I
yeah.
don't think so. I am almost certain it was just
Yeah.
Elmo saying, "How you doing?"
And millennials and Gen Xers and Gen Zers just kind of unleashed on him. And that's what's tough about marketing in general because you never know how that's going to land. For some people, it can be a real catharsis, which it clearly was with the Elmo situation. Like, I can't afford therapy because our healthcare system is so broken in this country. So I'm just going to text, I'm going to tweet Elmo about this and think that at
Yeah.
least it's out in the ether and he's heard it, which is very sad, but also kind of beautiful. But you had a lot of people who were feeling like Sesame Street was manipulating people and exploiting people, which is so weird to me because first of all, that's not like we've never known that to be Sesame Street's MO in general. And
They
that
asked how
way.
people were doing,
Yeah.
but they didn't say, tell me your sad sack story about depression and mental health struggles.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for that. He literally was just
And I
like, how
think
you
that's
doing?
I think that's a lot of like the cynicism of our society, especially when we approach
Yeah.
marketing. that people always assume that something is like a scam. Something is trying to get you to do something,
Mm-hmm.
which is very sad because I thought it was beautiful. And I'm glad that people had that moment. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're, calling Better Health or Better Help, that's like not cheap. So it still costs money. So if people can just
Right.
tweet to Elmo and say, I'm not having a good day because this is what's happening. I don't know. I think that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. And that might be that may be my naivete about marketing and like that I think that marketing can do some good. But yeah, it was interesting to see the different takes on that whole situation.
Certainly. Yeah, because like you said, the whole thing about marketing is whatever you send out there, you
Yeah.
guess at best, you guess how it's going to hit people. And apparently, I'm betting, I mean, how much do we want to bet that they thought, oh, people might tweet back, maybe, and then they've got obviously a lot of following in their accounts. They're popular. These are representing characters that have been beloved for decades, right? So it's like they've got this social media presence. So I'm going to ask, how's everybody doing? They probably just thought they were going to get like gifts or just like, okay, oh, doing fine. Well, I could be better, whatever. But it did. It hit at a moment that everybody, and I saw it trend. I didn't reply to it, but I saw it pretty early on. And then I learned about, the news coverage started hitting. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit. But then so some people want to unload and say, well, I'm glad you asked, let me tell you. But I agree. And we all work in that. There's always going to be a segment of the audience that's always going to be dubious about anything we put out there. And a lot of it does come back to, like you all said, how does the originating brand handle
Yes.
it afterward? Do they
Mhm.
mishandle it? Do they handle it appropriately? Do they let it breathe and recognize it for the organic thing it was? Or do they try to capitalize on it? And I'm sure there's brands, had they had a moment like that,
Yeah.
and we've seen it, where they, okay, well, how do I make a buck
Mhm.
off this? How do I, get some ROI money off of this? So yeah, I agree. And it is, we're all familiar with it. As disappointing as that some people think
Mhm.
that, we know it because that's who our audiences are. They're gonna question. And maybe
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with questioning, but I mean, you can be skeptical,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
cynicism is something else, right? We can question things. I mean,
Yeah.
like there's no reason to not question things, but to start at believing the worst.
Especially of a puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
He might be because he's a woke puppet.
Oh, and then you get into a whole other
Oh.
can of worms. Yep. He cares about your feelings. He must be a lib.
This podcast is brought to you by But Wait, There's More. Build trust in your marketing through the power of podcasting, a loaded up LinkedIn personal profile, or persuasive public speaking with your event's next MC. But Wait, There's More, MOORE, is your resource for building credibility by putting your best and authentic self and brand out there. Visit www.butwaitthere'smore.com.
So I wanted really briefly, yes, I wanted to talk about Charlotte Tilbury. I'm obsessed with this whole thing. So
Okay.
Charlotte Tilbury is a very well-known British makeup brand. I think their last big promotion featured Elton John, like that kind of big. They're huge. And so recently they sent out to all of their influencers this amazing PR package. And the PR package looked like a giant lipstick, like the size of me. And when you open the lipstick, it had each of the individual lip liners. And then in those perforated windows, like for advent calendar kind of things, there were the matching lipsticks, and the lipsticks were the feature, right? So influencers started opening the lipstick little windows and there were no lipsticks in them, right? So it seemed very organic at first, and you're like, that's weird. Somebody must have just fucked up and not put it in the PR package. And then all of a sudden, Charlotte Tilbury came out with this very poorly produced, video story about where are the lipsticks, kind of like a detective series type of thing. Yep. So they were like, oh, and they would go from Charlotte Tilbury herself to her daughter to random people working in the warehouse being like, I don't know. I saw so and so with the lipsticks the last time yesterday. I don't know who did it. Yes.
Oh, come on.
So, and then what happened is eventually they ended up sending the lipsticks in this plastic, just like a little baggie, but it looked like an evidence bag, right? Like they made it look like an evidence bag, and then they sent that to the influencers to be like, here's your lipsticks. But the funny thing about that is that people are like, okay, so I don't think they could have planned that because like it takes time to get those bags printed out. Now, Charlotte Tilbury is a very, like, they have a lot of money in their budget, let's just say. They're like, you could have easily had those bags printed out in a day. So the whole argument is people going back and forth about, was this a legitimate fuck up? And they try to come up with a creative way to get around it by saying there was like, we meant this the entire time. It was like a PI, like a detective story. Or was it, we fucked up, we forgot to put the lipsticks in the PR packages. And now so like, I don't know. What do you guys think? So again, we were talking about cynicism earlier. I fully believe that someone fucked up and somebody tried to, okay, and then there's another part of that. So I think somebody fucked up and tried to be creative in the way to get around it, which we've all been in marketing and PR before. Like, that like sometimes you have to play that game. But the interesting part about that is Elf, who does a lot of Charlotte Tilbury type dupes, had recently done a very well-produced kind of thing like that about like the detective series and who stole this and stuff. So then people are starting to argue, well, is that them like trying to hit back at Elf for duping?
Oh.
So yeah, right? So you get to the point where you're like, I don't know. And again, the cynicism in me says somebody fucked up and then they stole Elf's idea because they're like, we can't come up with something quicker. And like, this is the best we can do.
My thoughts are that it really doesn't matter because people are talking about it.
Amen. That's what my husband said. My husband, who is not in marketing at all, said that to me. I was explaining this whole thing to him because, of course, I'm getting all animated. My arms are going as I'm telling the story. And he's like, but you're talking about it. And I'm like, no shit. That's exactly what it is. So they would.
So it worked. It might not be the conversation that they wanted, but
exactly.
It's a
so does it matter? No. But personally,
I mean, I bet it matters to that person that doesn't work there anymore.
The person who didn't put the lipsticks in the original PR.
That's right.
If we want to go with this wasn't a mistake, it was a flub, then somebody is not working there anymore.
This is kind of shit I love about marketing. I will fully tell you. Like, I love that. If you have that moment where you fucked up, how are we going to move it forward without like fully exposing ourselves for fucking up? And the thing is, like, people would be like, oh, well, you're like exploiting the customers and the people. And like, sometimes it's just an individual person trying to make sure they don't get fired. I can appreciate that. We've all fucked up, right, Rachel? Rachel, you and I have talked about it before. Like, we have definitely done something where like, oh, wow.
We all should have the like a little counter saying how many days since last incident. Sometimes it's right back down to 0. And I got to be frank, mine is probably still in only the double digits. But so I will say, okay, I did not know, y'all, and do makeup. I don't do makeup to the extent that Elizabeth does. But yeah, y'all are into it and stuff way more than I am. And I'm like, oh.
But no, I just have no skill. Like, I'm willing to fly you down here to fix this face, but I'm on social enough. I did not know about all of this, but I'm on social enough that I know brands and that kind of thing. So I did know that.
So I'm looking at our show notes and I was like, I don't know this brand. I just don't even know it. So here's where I'm trying to like naturally say, so let's say, and I don't even know if they sell in Target. Maybe I'm sure they sell at
like
Sephora.
The Targets that have the Ulta in them. Yeah.
Okay. So my nearby Target does. So let's say I'm at Target and I'm like, okay, I do need to shop around. You know what? I need lipstick. I now, having done this discussion with you, that because I just don't know. I have a certain kind of lipstick. I have a lip stain that I like to go with, but I never can even remember what brand it is. I'm like, is that Maybelline or CoverGirl? I don't know. I don't buy it that often. But if I were looking for lipstick and I saw my eyes, if they're grazing across and saw Charlotte, I have to read it. Charlotte Tilbury. I would be like,
I remember that.
I'm going to walk over and look at the ding dang lipstick. I'll be like, that's recognition. Even if I'm like, I don't even know the whole story, but now that name jumps out to me. So worth it.
It is really interesting. And the thing to me at the end, I think because this is a very This company has a huge budget, but when you watch their videos where they're trying to do the whole like detective series vibe, it's very low budget. It's very low quality. So in my
Yeah.
head, I think that's them like trying to get it done as fast as possible. Like we've all been there where you're like, I just need to get this out.
Mhm.
But in the end, it benefits them either way. Like, and that is
That's
what
right.
like I love and hate about marketing, where like you can have a mistake that can be a beautiful thing for your company, but you can still have like you
Yeah.
can still, unfortunately, you have to be very careful about your loyal customers are now sitting there in the back of their mind going, but did you mean to do this? Was this always the intention? And you have to be very careful about riding that line. And it's kind of a fun line to ride to figure out like where you can get in
Yeah.
between that. I just thought it was a really interesting story. I recently watched it. And anybody
It is.
who is on YouTube and cares about makeup or skincare, I learned about this from Robert Welsh. He's one of the Welsh twins. So they're two twin guys who are both gay. One is skincare, one is makeup. They look very similar, but you can tell
Nice.
them apart. And I was just telling my friend that like my serotonin, I realize I can get my serotonin re-upped when I watch their videos together because they're hilarious. Like they just
Yeah.
giggle the entire time to each other. And it's these two brothers that are like, just like they have all these like inside jokes and stuff like that. But I hadn't watched them in probably a year at least. And recently I was like, I need some serotonin. So I'm going to watch these two and hope it does the same thing. And it absolutely did. So if you need a fun, good
Ushered you
YouTube
in.
channel to watch, the Welsh twins on YouTube, highly recommend because they will always make you laugh. I literally sit there, like I'll be in my shower and I'll have their videos playing on my shower speaker and I'll be giggling in the shower like that. They're the type of people. So I just wanted to give them a shout out because that's where I learned about this whole thing happening. And I was absolutely fascinated. Yep.
Obviously, we'll cover some more stuff on next week's, but that segues us nicely into the most important part of this whole podcast, which is how in the world do people like follow these gems of women online? I mean, we're obviously awesome and everybody should go follow us right now. So, reverse alphabetical order, Tanya, where do we find and follow you online? Because we certainly should, including all the single men, the good
Not
single men.
all the single men, just the single men who are like really handsome and rich, and yeah, or even more specifically, Jeffrey Wright, that particular single man.
Gotcha.
I think he's single. I hope he's single.
Who cares?
I can be found at TDOUBLEB, pretty much everywhere because that's my handle, man. But if you want to kind of reach me, the place I hang out the most is Instagram because I need the cooking and the dog reels.
And then I can be found. My handle is Rachel has the MIC pretty much everywhere. Oddly enough, I do have a mic. I'm talking into it right now. I grab it whenever I can, probably more than people want me to. But yeah, I mostly live on LinkedIn, frankly. And I know that might sound really boring, but I don't know. I guess ever since COVID, it transformed a little bit and I like it better there. I also go to TikTok for serotonin. We're talking about that. That is where I find joy. So yeah, go check out Rachel Has the Mic on either of those, but I'm anywhere else too. But those are most likely the places where I might actually respond to you.
So professionally, I'm at Elizabeth Allen 1001 because I haven't branded myself well like the rest of these people. So find me there on LinkedIn. I am on TikTok, but I'm not going to tell any of you my name. You have to come and find me because it could impact my job.
Not detectives. They don't need to
Oh
be
my God.
detectives.
Let's script it out. Let's act this out. It's a
It's a
detective
detective
show. Define who
show.
you are on TikTok.
Honestly, once you get to know me, you know what I'm saying on TikTok is the same shit I'm saying at my office anyway. So it's not that crazy. But you know what? Instagram, I do not post on Instagram. And the only thing I do on X is to dog Elon Musk. Like it's not useful to anybody.
It's fair.
So Elizabeth Allen 1001 at LinkedIn.
That's a wrap for the first episode of the Just Trust Me podcast. Show notes are prepared by Elizabeth Allen, podcast production and publishing by yours truly, Rachel Moore. We're brand new, so if you happen to dig this episode, we trust you to leave us a review to let other listeners know they can trust us for a great podcast experience. We're also on TikTok and Instagram at Just Trust Me Podcast. Show notes and podcast episodes live on www.butwaitthere'smore.com, and ad-free episodes are available on Patreon. But wait, before you skip over to the next show in your queue, follow or subscribe to this podcast now. We'll be back with more dissection and discussion of all that's in marketing in our next episode. Just trust me.